It starts quietly, the kind of quiet that doesn't comfort you. You're sitting there staring at your phone, your coffee, the wall, and you realize you don't feel much of anything. Not sadness, not anger, just a deep, hollow nothing. People tell you to cry it out, to let it all go, but that question hangs in the air. How do you release what you can't even feel? That is the strange paradox of emotional numbness. It feels like an absence, but it's not. It's the body's way of saying, this is too much. When something overwhelms us for too long, grief, chronic stress, loss, rejection, our nervous system doesn't just break. It has a failsafe. It shuts down. It flips a tiny switch somewhere deep inside to keep us from short-circuiting. It's the very same instinct that slows your heartbeat when you're in danger or freezes you completely when you're terrified. Your mind makes a decision for you. It says, you can't handle this right now, so I'll turn off the volume. And in that silence, you start mistaking survival for emptiness. Numbness has a strange way of deceiving you. It whispers that everything is fine because nothing hurts. You can still laugh at a joke. You can still go to work. You can still look completely okay on the outside. But deep inside, you know the truth. You're standing in a house that's been flooded, water up to your ankles, pretending the floor isn't wet. That's the hidden truth of this emotional shutdown. It's not a weakness. It is a profound act of protection. You didn't choose to feel nothing. Your body chose to protect you from the tidal wave of feeling everything at once. Maybe you learned this skill early. Maybe you grew up in a place where sadness wasn't safe, or where your tears just made other people uncomfortable. So instead of learning how to break down, you learned how to build up, layer after layer of defense, until sadness couldn't find its way to the surface anymore. And now when life gets heavy, instead of shattering, you go silent. You smile. You say you're fine. Because you have been fine your whole life, even when you weren't. But there's a cost to this protection, a heavy one. The thing about numbness is that it doesn't just block pain, it blocks joy too. When you mute one frequency, you mute them all. The insulation that keeps out the grief also keeps out the light. That's why you can't quite feel excitement anymore, or why happiness feels shallow, distant. It's like watching your own life through a thick pane of glass. You can see it happening, but you can't touch it. You can't feel the warmth. It's a profound disconnection. You aren't broken. You are just disconnected from the parts of you that learned long ago that feeling was dangerous. And every time you wonder why you can't cry, or why you can't seem to care, or why you can't properly grieve, it's because a part of your mind is still standing guard, right at the gates of that old, familiar pain, making sure nothing gets in or out. But here's the truth that no one ever tells you about the quiet. Numbness isn't the end of emotion. It's the waiting room. It is a space between the overwhelming and the manageable. And the fact that you notice it, the fact that you're sitting here listening to this and you miss feeling, that is everything. That ache for what's lost, that simple awareness of the silence means the thaw has already begun. Numbness fades the same way it arrived, quietly. It's not some grand wave of feeling washing over you. It's much subtler. Small cracks of light. You're driving home and a song comes on the radio, one you've heard 100 times, but this time you feel tears in your eyes. Or a random memory surfaces and it hits with a force you haven't felt in years. These moments can be jarring. They're reminders that the feeling isn't actually gone. It's just been hiding under the armor you built to survive. This state, emotional numbness, is a profound protective mechanism. When faced with trauma or chronic stress, the mind can decide that feeling nothing is safer than feeling everything. It's a biological shutdown, but it was never meant to be permanent. And this is the paradox of getting better. Healing doesn't begin when you feel happy again. It begins when you start feeling, period. Even if that first returning emotion is sadness. Because sadness in this context is a profound signal of trust. It means your body's internal alarm system finally believes it's safe to stand down. It means your system trusts you again. The pain you worked so hard to avoid becomes the very proof that you are alive. Of course, when that numbness first lifts, it can be overwhelming. The emotions you buried didn't just disappear, they were waiting. And when they resurface, it can feel like drowning in years of unexpressed grief and longing. This is the critical moment. That feeling of drowning is when most people panic. The instinct is to slam the door shut, to retreat to the familiar quiet of the void. Why? Because you've probably spent years chasing things, anything to generate a flicker of sensation. Drama, arguments, constant distraction. Because when you've been numb for that long, stillness feels unbearable. But if you can resist that primal urge to run, if you can just sit with the discomfort, even for a few minutes, you'll realize something profound. That rising tide of sadness isn't your enemy. It's not here to destroy you. It's your body's way of finally asking to be seen. The stillness you ran from is where the thaw happens. It's where the body can finally exhale. You don't have to force the feelings out. You don't have to analyze them. You just have to stop running from the quiet. Because beneath that quiet, sadness isn't trying to break you. It's trying to bring you back to yourself. This is where real courage is found. Not in the performance of being fine, but in the quiet, messy act of allowing yourself to be human again. To admit that you hurt, that you care, that you still want more from life than survival. Emotional numbness isn't the final chapter. Think of it as a pause before transformation, a cocoon moment. On the outside, everything looks still, but inside, a radical rearrangement is taking place. You aren't falling apart. You are reconfiguring. You're becoming someone who can finally hold both pain and peace without losing yourself to either. So if this is where you are right now, in that quiet space, don't rush to escape it. Sit in it. Listen to it. Because what you're hearing is not silence. It's your body whispering, "You're safe now. It's okay to feel again." And when those feelings finally return, even the painful ones, remember, this is not a step backward. It is not regression. This is resurrection.